Hey guys, this is a quick video on getting started on the banjo, or even if you've been playing for a while but you want to have a think about how you connect with the instrument physically, sitting or standing. I think one of the most important things is to be relaxed with whatever instrument you're playing, and so that means, for me, it means nice relaxed spine. I'm sitting up pretty straight, just like my parents always told me, teachers, sit up straight. It's taken me, this long to actually go, oh yeah, there's actually something to that, after having a bad back and, seeing physios and things. So posture is actually very, very important. Who knew? So I tried to sit sort of forward on the edge of the seat, and, that slight curve in your spine and the shoulders, they're parallel with the floor. And a big thing that can help with this, there's a few things. Wearing a strap, first of all, even when you're sitting, it supports the instrument so your arms aren't doing that job. So whether I'm sitting or standing, the instrument's in the same position, and the left hand, particularly the left hand, right, its job is not to hold the neck up. Its job is to, to find the notes. So once the task of supporting the instrument is taken away from the left hand, it's straight away more relaxed. Makes sense, right? It's not using energy to hold it up. It's just, it can flow. Similarly with the right arm, or if you're left-handed, the picking arm, and particularly for me, the right shoulder. I had a tendency for years, without knowing it, to gradually tense up here. And so I'd be trying to, whatever, even on guitar, I'd be trying to do, whatever I thought I needed to do with the right hand, but not really thinking about my shoulder. And, if you play for half an hour or more, or even a short time with tension in your shoulder up like this, you won't be aware of it until later on and you're sore. Or I used to get tingling in my hands, and I thought it was, wrist or start of carpal tunnel or something, but it was tension in my neck and shoulders. So that's my big thing now, is to play, because I try to practice every day. I try to play a lot, and if you're playing with tension, you'll feel the effects later on. You'll be sore, or you'll have numbness or whatever. So I should do stretches and things too for the old guys. So wear a strap. Nice posture. So your back is slightly, you're not slouching down like this, and you're not sort of really sort of chest out. It's basically that slight curve in your back, in your spine. I do this sort of thing, get my students to do this to make sure that their shoulders are actually relaxed. And then we can talk about playing. If this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, I'm sorry. You'll get used to the fact that I talk a lot. I'm sorry, but I love this stuff, and I think about it a lot. So, and on that note, there's no one way, guys. And I'm not trying to put myself out there as the expert on anything. I'm just trying to share things that I've found through trial and error, and through some really good teachers, and through physiotherapists. If you can practice with no tension, you'll perform with no tension, and that's the habit that you will do. So whatever we do often, that's the habit we create. So if we're trying to play something that's tricky, or we're trying to work on speed or something, and we're tense and we're tight, my shoulders, and I'm digging in, that's the muscle memory that I'm creating, is of tension. And that's not a great road to go down, and you can turn around and come back, but let's try to avoid that road straight away. So, relaxing. The right arm, for me, again, there's no one way, and I'm not an expert banjo player, but you can steal things from the classical guitarists, you can steal things from the jazz musicians. There's some things that translate instrument and genre, and for me, if you're body is in neutral positions, and I talk about range of motion, you know, this wrist can do this and it can do that. But if I'm playing in either extreme of motion, there's tension and there's no flexibility to adjust for tone or dynamics or anything. So if my hand is like this, my wrist is pretty straight, my shoulders relaxed. The fingers are free to do their thing. I want us to start with just the top 3 strings. 1, 2, 3. Really, really basic forward roll. Later on we'll talk about actual roll exercises with a metronome. But for now I just want to talk about sitting with the instrument and just interacting with it in a neutral way, or in a relaxed way. Now this sort of thing, you could do this for hours because there's no tension. My shoulder is definitely relaxed. My forearm is just sort of resting on this part here, on the edge. There's an armrest on this banjo. So that's my point of contact. So I don't have to do anything here to keep my wrist where I want it, because I'm just sort of resting, using the weight of the forearm to put me in position, and I'm using my pinky as another anchor point here. So, and just the weight of the hand, and just nice relaxed position of just keeping the pinky here. Some people will use 2 fingers resting on the top. That's fine. Whatever works for you. We do want to have a bit of a gap. I don't know if you can really tell from here. I'm going to spin around. You want a bit of a gap between, the palm of your hand and the bass here, and the instrument. You don't want this. Like this is good for electric guitar, rock muting and things. Like because we're muting here on an electric guitar, particularly when we have a lot of gain. We need to control it. But that's not our ideal position when we're using finger or any kind of finger picking instrument, because here your fingers you actually have to work hard to clear the string once you picked it, and that's extra effort to stay clear of the strings. Whereas, and this is a really big deal in classical guitar, is having a nice natural hand position where the fingers are just falling onto their string. Just really relaxed hand, right? And you just bring that down here. And the pinky or 2 fingers, if you like that, is our anchor. I'm not touching the bridge. I'm not touching the top of the banjo. And see how here the fingers are they're just doing this. I don't have to bring them up to clear the next string. They're just able to. They're like a pendulum, and they're just swinging past. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but with this space, and I tell people, like a tennis ball or a handball size space here, that lets the fingers clear the strings without any effort. They're just, you've set them in motion, and they're going to follow through that arc once they've cleared the string. They don't need to. We're not going to exaggerate it. We're not going to, have them follow the whole arc. A big part of technique is economy of motion. So, they need to move as far as they need to move to clear the string, and we do need to talk about velocity. I've heard it referred to with banjo as playing through the string rather than starting on the string. And you get the pick sound and then the note. So we do have to have a certain amount of, momentum, but we're still going to try to reduce all movements to the minimum required. So, you know, once I've played this note, I'm getting ready to reset that for whatever it's going to do next, rather than this big movement where I've got a bigger distance to come back. So it's basically just, first of all, finding out how small a movement you can make it without, you know, without forcing it. Make it a small movement, but then think about the projection that you get. You don't want to just have small movements, you know, that you can get really fast, right? But be soft, you know, we want to be able to have a full range of dynamics, and it's, so I've got some drills that I do, which, you know, within the rolls, talking about or thinking about being able to accent any note or any string. So if I say thumb, index, middle, I'm gonna play them all even, right? Thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle. Just looking at how it's sitting there. Let's be relaxed. Thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb. Hopefully, they're more or less the same dynamic, the same volume. Let's make the thumb, let's accent the thumb. Thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb. Whoa, middle, thumb, index, middle. Couple more. Trying to do that without feeling like I'm tensing up. Don't worry if this feels weird, because this actually took me quite a while to get the next few stages. Where now it's going to be, we're going to make the index finger the loudest note. We're still starting thumb, index, middle, but it's going to be thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, yeah, get that? Index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, index, middle. You can guess what's going to happen next. Thumb, index, middle, 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 thumb, index, middle. Try that a bit faster. Here's with the thumb, index. Middle again. Okay, so one other thing comes to mind with this is now let's if we just keep, you know, wrapping that around, we're playing, you know, we're emphasizing things that sound like 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. But the cool thing happens when you're playing groups of threes over music that's in 4. So we can emphasize, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, just a lot of traditional music is in, you know, 4/4, right? Unless it's a waltz or a diddly sort of thing. But let's think about if we're playing groups of 3 in 4/4. There's a way that we can really create this cool pattern, this syncopation, or just a really cool rhythmic effect where we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So that the skill that we need to do to be able to do this is to be able to accent any note or any finger rather than having our thumb as our dominant, loud digit. Any of these guys can create the accent, which creates a pulse. And so then, instead of hearing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, we hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so check it out. So what happens is, the first time this is loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You see that each finger gets to be the leader of the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it just sounds different. If I do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, over 4, 4, it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But if I just start sharing the accent, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing's changed except which note's getting emphasized. Listen to this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Same notes, same order. But I'm always accenting the thumb. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Check this one out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Hopefully you get the idea. That's a great thing to practice, and the classical guitar guys spend a lot of time being able to accent any note from any finger. And they're quite often using the ring finger as well, and some of them use the pinky. So we've actually got it easy. We've only got these 3 to look at right now. Okay, one other thing before I wrap it up is I forgot to talk about actually the picks themselves and wearing the picks. And if you're new to playing 3-finger style or scrug style, or just playing with finger picks, right? They can feel really, really weird to start with, and I remember I wanted to chuck them in the bin, but it's really, really worth persevering, even if you want to play with just fingers as well. There's it's not an either or situation. You can do whatever you want, but having these picks on, it creates a different tone. It definitely helps with projection. They're like amplifiers, and there's certain things that I just can't play when I'm playing with just fingertips, and I love the picks. So I'm just going to come in a bit closer for a sec. So again, there's no right or wrong way, as far as I'm concerned. Find something that works for you. There's a few guidelines, I guess. Here's forgive me, I'm not saying this is you, dear viewer, but I've seen people try to wear their picks like this, like a little talon. It's not going to work like that, unless I guess you're playing all down. But because we pick up, we're doing this, and it's just going to catch. The pick is designed to be worn that way, with that sort of coming up over your fingertip. Now there's lots of different ideas about bending the tips, how straight they are, or how curved they are, how far they extend above the finger. The only thing I can suggest to you guys is to experiment, because you can actually shape the pick. You can have it further out, you can curve it around more. I really don't do too much to these ones. These ones, I've tried all different kinds. These ones at the moment I'm using, I don't know if you can read that, they're Pro picks, and they're really quite comfortable. I've had all different kinds of picks in the past where they sort of dig into your fingernail here and the skin, but these ones feel really comfy. Thumb pick, actually the thumb pick's this one's got a little bit of an angle offset here, which I'm experimenting with, but I've definitely just used plain old straight bladed thumb picks. The other thing that's interesting about picks that you can experiment with is the angle that they are on your finger. I know some people advocate sort of maybe that's too much of an exaggeration, but but rotating them a little bit. I like them so they're pretty much straight. But there is, the idea that, if I'm playing like this, let's see if I can get in closer. That if your finger picks are perpendicular to the string, that you're using the whole flat blade of the pick, which offers more resistance and gives you a bigger sound. And then if you're playing, how I tend to play is, because my wrist is coming down like this and the neck is up like that, that actually, I don't know if we can see this here, but the pick is contacting the string at an angle, 45-degree angle almost, which creates a different sound. Listen to this. So this whole area to explore of the angle that the pick hits the string. And at some point, you haven't got enough bite on the string and it sounds really sort of light and feathery. But that might even be a technique that you could use for something. Some people will play, with that whole idea of getting this perpendicular angle on the string, they'll actually do this with their wrist. Now that to me, everybody is different. That to me has already created tension in my wrist because it's not in its neutral position. It's already at an extension, and my shoulder is. I can't show me, but it's a struggle for me to get to be relaxed in this sort of position. So that's why I prefer, my wrist and forearm being straight and neutral. The picks are at a bit of an angle, but that for me is the tone that I'm going for, and it's also, for me, it's a good middle ground between resistance on the string. The string can still bite in, but it glides off because it's at a bit of an angle. Same with what shred guitarists, the pick is, it's all about pick angle, and everything they're doing is about addressing the string at an angle where the pick is using minimal effort. Obviously acoustic instruments without amplification are a bit different. We do need to project, but I do like this idea of a neutral wrist. It's about a, let's see if you can see that here. So here is where they're straight, and here's mine sort of coming at an angle. Now again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a full-time professional performing banjo player, but there's techniques and there's foundational things that translate across any plucked instrument, and this is carrying over from classical guitar. And if you can find a good neutral position to play out of, where you're contacting the instrument but you're not tight, I think you'll find that you can practice more often or for longer times, or just generally in your playing you'll have less tension, and that's for me, that's one of my main things to think about when I'm playing. Alright, finger picks, right hand, we talked about posture, your back sitting on the edge of the seat. Look, we all sort of at times will sit and practice in front of the telly or sit on a couch, whatever, and have fun. But when you're really thinking about, okay, I'm working on stuff now, keep these things in mind. I'm not saying there's only one way to do anything. Please experiment and try things out. Man, 24 minutes, I'm sorry this has been so long. But I really love this stuff, so if it helps you, let me know, and if there's something that you'd like to work on, let me know. Oh yeah, here's one other thing. It can actually be really, really good to practice in front of a mirror. I know that can feel a little bit weird at first, but it's not about, I said this before in one of my guitar lessons, it's not about checking your hairdo out or, how cool you look. It's about monitoring, piano players, classical piano players and violinists do this, and cellists. You know, they're using the mirror for instant visual feedback on things that they might not necessarily be aware of, you know, until they start being sore later on. So you're actually using the mirror to check, am I sitting up straight? You know, is my shoulder over the next 5 minutes, has it crept up? Or am I doing something weird here? And you know, notice how I didn't really do much with the left hand. So much of your practice and at least your warm-ups can be just focused on right hand. And I'm going to do a video on open string rolls, you know, which are just the bread and butter for bluegrass players. Just getting this, you know, on autopilot, I guess, you know, being able to reverse rolls and invert them and just have this just sort of going as a little motor, I guess. Is that a good analogy? You know, but, you know, we don't want to think too much of, okay, what finger's next? It's like a centipede, you know. It hasn't got time to think what leg has to go forward, it'll trip over. So, you know, this is our little autopilot, and then we can think about what we want to happen here. But I think one last thing, you know, this it doesn't matter actually what instrument you're playing. You know, you could have the most insane knowledge of chords and scales and you know, have a million licks under your fingers in your left hand and in your mind, but if your right hand is out of time, it's going to sound out of time. You know, our right hand is our secret weapon. You know, and then even something quite basic in the left hand can sound really, really good if it's played with authority and in time with good tone, and you're projecting and it's relaxed and you're not straining. So yeah, you'll hear me talk a lot about right hand. All right, hope it helps, guys, and yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked it, please subscribe and send me a message, and we'll just keep the conversation going. Thank you. See you later. Bye. What was that?